Hey everyone, I have an awesome video for you ahead. I just received an awesome Kickstarter in the mail, and that Kickstarter is Dinosaur World. Now, dinosaur cloning is now a thing, and a new park has opened up. But before I can show you the wonders of Dinosaur World, you'll need to sign a waiver. Are you ready to sign it now? Video. Why can't I get that? No. I'm gonna redo that. So before we start, my name is Krissy and this is my channel 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗦𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗗, where we play board games and I review them. If you have a game that you'd love to see me review, then go ahead and like this video, comment down below what that game is, and of course go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss it if I do make that video. Now in Dinosaur World, you're trying to build the best dinosaur park, but also the safest. You'll gain workers and those will help you run and build your park. The better run park, the more points you'll end up with. Now let's go ahead and take a look at all of the boards that this game comes with. So as you can see here, we have 3 large boards. These are our island boards. We have the special buildings board right here. These are divided between A, B, and C tiles. The top being A, and the middle being B, and then C down at the bottom. Then we have the attractions island right here, and these are divided by different types. Then the final island board is the 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗥𝗘𝗘. All of these are shuffled and face down with these 3 on top of the board like that. These are the ones that you're going to be able to choose from. Then we have a bunch of things for the general supply. So we have our workers, these are the death tokens, we have boredom tokens, and then of course we have our coins. And all the way over here is all of our dinosaurs that we're going to be able to use. We have these cards set up close by, and these are our worker database cards. You're going to be flipping some of these over based on how many players that you have playing, and these are going to be your workers for the round. This board right here is called the public notice board. So we have our round track, we have excitement levels for at the end of the round, and then any victory points that we're going to score is marked off right here. Then in this nice bag that is Kickstarter exclusive, we have all of our DNA dice. And these cards right here are objective cards, and they're right underneath of the public notice board. Now anytime that you've completed this throughout the game, you're going to be placing one of your little Jeep tokens on them just to be able to know that those are ones that you have completed and which ones you haven't completed yet. Now this right here in front of me is the player boards. This is how it's going to be set up for the beginning of the game. This is our lab board, and this is where all of our DNA is stored. All of the basic DNA is set on number 2, and then all of our advanced DNA is set on number 1. Then we have the park board. Now this board right here has some of the actions that we're going to be able to take throughout the game. We get our Jeeple on top of this welcome center that everybody is going to get. And then everybody gets 2 tiles. So depending if this is your first game or not, there is a beginner variant where the tiles are pre-selected and you take a group of them, which is what I have set up right here. 4 different sets that come in the book that'll tell you which tiles to choose. And for a 2-player game, all of these tiles will just then go into the discard pile. And those would be your starting tiles. Now, if you're not going to be doing the beginner variant, you're going to draft your tiles. So what you're going to be doing is taking the number of players plus 1 tile from both of these islands right here. And the first player is going to take 1 tile, the second player another tile, and however many players you have, the last player will essentially go twice and then work its way back. Each time you're selecting 1 of each tile. And then of course, randomly select a first player and give them the first player token, and everybody starts off with coins. Now the first player starts off with 8 coins, second 9, third 10, and then the 4th player will get 11 coins. So that is the setup for the player board and also the whole setup for the whole game. Now we go on to the actions. There are 5 rounds in this game, and each round has 5 phases. And those phases are hire a worker. That is the number 1 thing that we're going to do. So that is whenever you're going to be taking each card. So you're going to be taking 1 card for each player plus another card. So as a 2-player game, you're going to have 3 cards. And the first person, the player with the first player token, is going to choose the first card that they would like. And then the second player would get to choose from the last 2 cards. Then you're going to be collecting the tokens here you're going to be collecting these workers from the supply. And those are the workers that you're going to use throughout that first round of the game. Now, once you've hired your workers, you go on to the second phase, which is public actions. Now, public actions is on this nice little player aid right here. So you can gain DNA so you can gather DNA, which at the beginning of the public actions turn, you're going to roll the number of dice based on how many players there are, and you're going to place them right here in the area to gather DNA. You can gather 1 die for each of your turn, and you'll have to pay 1 to 3 workers of any color to choose 1 die, and however many numbers of workers that you choose is how many times you're going to multiply that die. But if you use a blue worker, you're going to be able to gain basic DNA or advanced DNA. Then there is building a 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗘𝗏. So this you can use any color of workers, any 2 color workers, or you can use a green one. So you'll be able to buy one of these tiles, and you'll also be able to place it down in your area right here where you're going to be constructing your park. Now for any of these tiles, you can only have 1 type of every single one of them, and you cannot place dinosaurs next to each other. They at least have to be 1 tile away from each other. So you'll also have to pay the price that is at the top left of the tile right there, and you would be able to put that down wherever you would like that, as long as it is touching one of the sides of any other tile or right here. So that is how you would be able to place one of these 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗏𝗧. As another public action, you can purchase an attraction tile. Now an attraction tile doesn't need a worker cost. You would just simply need to pay the cost of the tile up at the top left, the same as these dinosaur paddocks over here. And this one also, you can only have 1 type of any kind in here. And you can place them anywhere, again, as long as it is touching one side of another tile. Then we go to special buildings. Special buildings do cost 1 worker, but of any color. You would again need to pay the cost up at the top left corner, and you can place that anywhere down into your park right here. Then after the public actions, we move on to private actions. Private actions are listed here on your park board. We have DNA refinement. So if you find yourself with more of 1 type of DNA and you need another type potentially to build a dinosaur, then you can go ahead and you can exchange it here. Now these are interchangeable, so if you're needing a purple, you can swap a red and a blue, or if you're needing a red and a blue, you can swap a purple for it. For the DNA refinement, you'll need a worker for this. So you need to make sure that you're not using all of your workers in your personal actions first. You need to save them for your private actions as well. So you can use any color you want, and those workers would go right here. But if you wanted to gain an extra resource, you could place a blue worker, and that will give you any basic DNA here, whichever one you want. Then if, say, you're in need of some cash because you're not really getting a ton or you've wasted it, you can go into the VC funding right here. Again, you can use any color worker that you want, or if you use a green worker, you get an extra coin. So whatever number is in here is how many coins that you're going to be getting. Then we go on to security here. And yes, you guessed it, any color of worker can go there. Now security here is just bringing this up so that whenever you do get and build a dinosaur, you'll want to make sure that your threat level is always below your security level here. And then if you use a yellow worker, you'll be able to move up on your track for 1 less coin from what it costs. Then for Jeepel Garage, if you are looking to move up the track here and get more move tokens. So when you move your Jeep around, you're going to be placing some of these arrow tokens wherever it is leaving so that you can track back to the tile that it left from. So if you wanted to move up on this track, this is where you're going to be needing to place some of your workers. If you place a purple worker here, it will cost you 1 less coin every time you move up. Now, when you move up here in any of these sections with a question mark, you get to collect these arrow tokens for extra moves. So instead of 2, I would end up with 3 moves. And then because because we moved up to here, there's a space here. So we would be able to choose one of these tokens right here that we would want to gain, because at the end, whenever we are doing our cleanup, when we are doing our income and our cleanup phase, we'll be able to gain some of these. So we'll just go ahead and pick extra DNA. And then of course, the last one down here is building a dinosaur. This one can use any kind of worker, and you can build as long as you have the DNA for any of these dinosaurs here. Say we paid the cost of the blue, and in orange, this cost right here is nothing, and we would be able to place a dinosaur there. Now, our threat track would go up because we're placing a dinosaur, because having dinosaurs is a little dangerous in this game. But come with that is 2 points. So you would be able to move to the second spot right there on the victory track. Then once you have completed all of the private actions that you want to, we move on to the 4th phase. Now the 4th phase is the 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗏. So like I was saying earlier, this is where these arrows are coming into play. Anywhere you would want to go to activate any of these tiles, let's say we wanted to go visit a dinosaur right here. We're going to place the arrow here because we're coming back down. Now, one thing about this one is you cannot return to a tile that you have come from. So if you didn't want to come visit this dinosaur down here, you're going to activate the tile. So we have 1 dinosaur here, so we would get 2 on this excitement track right here. Now at the end, whenever you're doing your income phase, this is where the money your park has accumulated. So you'll be able to collect whatever number is below where you're at. So you collect your excitement level, and once the tile has been activated, then you're going to need to place one of these boredom tokens here. Now this is kind of keeping track of how many times you visited this tile. You don't want to do it too many times because that is subtracted from the excitement level here. Then once you've placed that, you get to roll one of these dice. These are the danger dice, and it will let you know if you're getting a danger token. I didn't, I rolled pretty good. But some of these get pretty bad, like this red one here has a double, and so does the purple one. So if that were to happen, then you would collect a danger token. I'll get to this whenever we do our income and cleanup steps. There's more to these. So if we had any other tiles that were around this tile here, we would be able to move to them for as many arrows as we have. So that was the 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗏. Now we move on to the income and the cleanup phase. So player income, we're going to reset our 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦 here. We're going to get rid of their tokens and place them right there, and we're going to place the 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦 back on the welcome center. Now at the end of the 3rd round, this tile right here actually gets flipped over. Now you're going to probably have more tiles here than I do, and the park entrance is what's going to be coming out, and it gets placed at least 3 tiles away from its original spot. And this will just give you a chance to activate some of the other tiles that may be a little too far. So that is something that goes on with the welcome center. And then of course your 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗏 will be able to go onto it. Running out of room over here. This is quite a little bit of a big game. So we'll put the park entrance right there, and then the 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗏 will go on top of it like that. Then we go ahead, and this is where we're going to gain our Jeep upgrades. So we'll get an extra $2 for that, and we'll be able to collect 2 of any DNA that we want to. Then we gain our income from the excitement level, and if you remember, since I activated this, I would also get 2 coins for being on the 2nd spot right there on the track. So once you've collected that, then the cube would go back to 0. We would return any workers that we used. Any workers that you have not used, you can keep to play the next round. Then you need to evaluate this track right here and compare it. Now my threat track is one above my security track, so then I would indeed get one of these death tokens. Then we would clean up. These dice would go back into the bag until the beginning of the next round. The last 2 paddocks come off. This last tile moves up to the front, and 2 new tiles are placed there. The same happens for the special buildings, except if you're playing at a 2-player, there are 3 that come off, and the same thing happens. It's the last 3. The last one at the back gets pushed to the front, and 3 new tiles are revealed. Whoever is lowest on the victory track is the first player for the next round. Now for end game scoring. For each 5 coins that you have left at the end of the game, that is 1 point per each. Then for these death tokens here. So the player with the fewest tokens gets to discard all of them. However many they are discarding, the other player with the most of them get to discard the same number. But whatever they have left is how many points they're going to lose. So if they have 2 left, they would only lose 1 victory point. However, the more you come up the track, the higher number of points that you need to discard. If you have more than 10, every number then loses 3 for any additional over 10. And then some of the tiles have end game scoring. Those look like this, and it would be basically scoring tiles, specific tiles around this one, and it would score 1 victory point per each of those specific tiles around it. So that was a little bit of Dinosaur World. This game is a little large. It takes up a lot of our table, which is why we're actually recording inside of the table this video. There are a lot of pieces to this, a lot of great quality pieces as well. This is the Kickstarter version that we have, so we have a lot of upgrades. We've gotten the metal coins as upgrades. We've gotten this first player token that is an upgrade. We've gotten a lot of tiles, Kickstarter exclusive tiles. So this is the Pandasaurus HQ, and this is the dinosaur that goes onto that one. If you don't want to use that one, you can just go ahead and use any of these green ones right there. But it's nifty that we got a Pandasaurus dinosaur to actually go on the Pandasaurus HQ tile that the Kickstarter came with. So there are a few, I think there's about 6 different tiles that were Kickstarter exclusive. And the rulebook did include all of those Kickstarter tiles too. And the rulebook actually included a lot of the expansions. So, well, 3 of the expansions are included in the rulebook, which I thought was really neat. The expansions came in smaller boxes. Everything does fit in the base box, and they did come with their own rulebooks as well. And I do believe this is Kickstarter exclusive too, the embroidering on the dice bag here, which looks really nice. The rulebook actually included a lot of stuff. It included all of the icons, a lot of what the tiles actually mean. So it goes into depth about the tiles, just in case anybody had any questions. The rulebook definitely did a really good job explaining everything and how the game works. It has loads of pictures in the rulebook as well. Of course, I didn't read the rulebook, but in preparation for my reviews, I always do go through the rulebook, and it was nice to look at. Loads of pictures, seemed easy enough to understand. I wrote all my notes based off of it, and it worked out really well. I found playing this at 2 players because that is the only player count that we got to play this as. I found at 2 players some of these special buildings here. There is a huge stack of it because there are extra tiles from the Kickstarter. So we didn't get through very many of these at 2 players, obviously because they cost a lot of money. Sometimes it's hard to get the money. If we were playing at 4 players, you get $11, so that's cool. But the first and second player only get 8 coins and 9 coins. So money at the beginning of this game is a little hard to come across. So I found that even just any of these tiles, some of them cost a lot. These ones are a little bit less. The security here is 8 coins. I did find some of these whenever we were playing 2, the special buildings, to be a little bit expensive. But definitely if you're playing at 2 players, you're not getting through a lot of those tiles. So you're not really seeing a lot of them. Obviously, the more that you play, the more tiles that you'll get to see, which is nice. So a lot of those icons are going to be coming up that maybe you're not sure what they are. But again, the rulebook did a great job explaining all of those. This game did come with player aids. There were a couple of mistakes on the player aid, and I feel like the player aids you're continuously looking at to make sure that you're playing the game properly to follow along what steps are next. So that was a little upsetting that they weren't printed completely correct. There is, I think, 2 mistakes really. So whenever you're building an attraction and building a special building, these requirements for each are actually flipped, and you can tell because this one says place 1 attraction, this one says a special building, so those are swapped. And then for the private action here, this meeple right here, this worker, should actually be purple. So there are a few mistakes on here, which is a little unfortunate. If you do go on BGG, I do believe that they have a file for these that you are able to print off with the corrected errors. So that is nice that they included that on BGG. And another thing that I found with this game is that the 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗨𝗧 phase, everybody is moving. That is one of the phases that is simultaneous. So whoever I found is closest to the actual track is the person that I'd be like, hey, can you move me up 2 points? Can you move me up 4 points? And like that. Meanwhile, the person who's closest to it, in this case, Nick he's trying to calculate his own moves and calculate his own score. And sometimes he wasn't listening to me. He couldn't hear me because he's calculating in his own head. And so I found maybe because it is a large game, so not everybody's going to be able to reach that track and that board. So maybe if there was a scoreboard on the player board or something that you're able to calculate your own points and adjust it from your own board, I think that would have been nice, but again, just kind of nitpicking, right? And then another thing is the boredom tokens. These boredom tokens are very, very small. I get the understanding of them, so whenever you visit each tile, you're changing them, and then you subtract those points from the excitement level down here, but they are just really small, and they move around a lot, and they're just really small. For how much you're using it, because you're literally using it every single round, so it gets to be a lot, and they're all over the board, and you're moving your Jeep, and you're bumping into it, and just things like that. Just really small and not really fun to work with while you're playing. So those are just 3 of the things that I didn't really like about the game. The game played fine. I really enjoyed playing this game. And I know that this game, Dinosaur World, is completely different from Dinosaur Island. They are, to me, still the same theme, just a little bit different. But I would pick this game over playing Dinosaur Island. We do have a live playthrough of this game, and I can link that here and in the description down below too. So if you wanted to check that out to see how this game plays, that link will be down there for you to check it out. So anyway, that is my review on Dinosaur World. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.